Before wrapping up this tutorial, I would like to show you a couple of other things. As you have seen, probably I have erased all the data from here. I'm going to just load my data again, so I'm going to put life expectancy here, children per woman over here, but no plot is shown. If that happens at some point, and happens sometimes, you can click on this refresh or redraw icon here at the bottom, and the chart will appear again. So if your chart disappears, just click on this button and it will show up again. As you can see, it has created again this a density plot. So I'm going to subset by year again. I'm going to select these, subset by year, and that will create a series of plots like the ones that we had before. And it has preserved, by the way, the labels that I added before. So the features that I would like to talk about is something that I discussed on the first tutorials a while ago. If you click on the Add to Plot button over here, you will see that one of the options on the I want to menu up here is to add trend curves. And there are several trend curves that you could use. For instance, the linear one will show you that the overall direction of the data is to move to the right and towards the bottom, meaning that the more children per woman a country has, the lower the life expectancy tends to be in that particular country, right? And this is a relationship that repeats every year. But that line will change. So if I click on close, this is the line that shows from 1952. But then if I move these, you will see that the slope of the line changes according to the shape of the data. All right, the overall relationship, all right, or the correlation coefficient, correlation relationship between those two variables. When the relationship is linear, or it tends to be linear, like in this case, we usually talk about correlation. But there are other kinds of trend lines that we can use. I'm going to click on Add to Plot again. I want to add trend curves, and as I discussed on a previous tutorial, you can also add a cubic trend line, which describes the data a little bit better because the relationship is not perfectly linear. So what the cubic model does is to basically try to fit a line that shows you the overall direction. I'm going to actually erase the linear one so you can see the other one. The overall direction of the data. This line is basically like a description, like an overall summary of what the direction of the relationship is. So it tends to go down pretty quickly here, but then it stabilizes over here at the end, at least in 2000, in the year 2000. Okay, so remember that these features over here, adding trend lines to relationship charts, scatter plots like this one, is sometimes a very good idea, particularly if you have too many dots that it may be hard to spot the relationship between the two variables. A trend line can really help. So that's one of the features that I would like you to keep in mind. The other one is that you can also customize the labels if you want to. There's a menu here that lets you customize the main title of the chart, so you can change this and change this, my beautiful chart, and when you click on return, that will change the title of the chart. You can change the label. The x-axis label is children per woman, but you can change that to fertility rate. And when you click on return, that will update down here. And then the y-axis label is life expectancy. I'm going to write everything in uppercase, and you click on return, and that updates. So you can customize the labels. You can obviously change all these later in Adobe Illustrator, which is what I usually do. I don't usually bother changing the style of charts within Insight or Eurun or Tableau or Power BI or many other tools that I use. What I do is to create the base charts on all those tools and then style them in Illustrator. There's another feature, by the way, before wrapping this up, which lets you adjust the axis limits. So Insight usually does a very good job at calculating what the bottom limit and the upper limit of your chart should be. But if you want to set those limits for your purposes to certain values, you can do that. So right now, the x-axis is set to minimum of 0.4 and maximum set to 9. But if I could change that. For example, I could say the x-axis minimum value should be 0 and the upper should be 10. So it will go from 0 children per woman to 10 children per woman, from 0 to 10. If you need a 0 baseline, from 0 to 10. And we can also change the y-axis. So instead of going from 25.90 something to 85, we can round these down, for instance, from 25 up to 90, for instance, 90 years. Okay, and as you can see, every time that I change something here and click on return, it will automatically update the results on your chart. If you want to go back to the original values that Insight calculates by default, just click on reset, and Insight will go back to the original value. So keep all these options in mind. There are many others over here that we will probably explore in future tutorials before we learn how to restyle all these charts with Adobe Illustrator.